Hey everyone, it is Hunter Fireflower, and in today's video I will be doing a summary and review of Star Wars Dawn of the Jedi Force War issue number 1. So in the previous comics, we saw Daegen and Xesh going on their own, trying to start this kind of Jedi rebellion to have people go to the dark side and have these Force sabers and make this Jedi army to prevent the Rakata from attacking. However, they were captured by our journeyers. Daegen was sent back to Bogan, and Xesh is undergoing some type of Jedi training to put him more towards the light side of the Force. A long time has passed, and the Infinite Empire is now in the Typhan system, and they are decimating the Jedi. They have taken just about almost all of the planets. They have destroyed Fury's Gate, which was that outermost planet station that monitors people going in and out of the system. And the Infinite Empire is seeing victory after victory. So in response, the Jedi have been using these seers to see the future. And since the Jedi have been using these seers, the tides have turned, and now the Jedi are actually starting to win. But what's interesting though, and it's not really touched on in this comic in the first few pages, is that Daegen is now a general of the Jedi, and it doesn't exactly explain why. I read the comic that comes right before this one, and we just see Daegen getting sent away to Bogan, and he becomes a prisoner or whatever, but now he's free and actually leading Jedi forces. It's a little confusing of like how that actually happened. I mean, I guess the Jedi were very desperate, and they just wanted, Daegen to fulfill his destiny or something. It's not really explained. Xesh is also in here, and he is on the side of the Jihadi, and Trill is also in here, but we know that she is actually a secret spy for the Infinite Empire, and is kind of just playing nice with the Jedi. So the first few pages of this comic just summarize exactly what I just told you, and it just sets the stage for the rest of this comic series. Right now, they are on Shikakwa, I believe I'm pronouncing that correct, and we have Xesh with Shae, and I believe Daegen as well, are over here basically trying to take back the planet. The Infinite Empire is trying to claim it, and what's interesting is that this comic reveals to us that the Flesh Raiders are actually these mutated super soldiers that the Infinite Empire has made to fight their battle so that the actual Rakatan people don't need to fight. And if you've ever played Star Wars The Old Republic, the Flesh Raiders are actually on Typhan, like there's a whole quest around them. So I actually think it's interesting to see them in this comic and then see them in another video game. I've actually never heard of Flesh Raiders before I played The Old Republic, and I think it's kind of cool how both of these are linked together. So Xesh is fighting the Flesh Raiders along with Daegen. Shae is on her Rancor Dragon, and a lot of the Force Hounds are still fighting for the Infinite Empire, and we see one of them, you can see him in the upper right of this panel over here, wearing the same exact outfit that Xesh actually used to wear, and it was a little confusing at first when I was reading this. I was like, wait, isn't that Xesh's armor? But apparently that's kind of like a default Force Hound outfit that they just wear in general. I mean, if it was this outfit that they all wore, why isn't Trill wearing one? Maybe because she's a woman, I have no idea. But it was a little confusing to read. But Shae takes out this Force Hound with her lightsaber. And one thing that we see in all of these comics is that all of the Jihadi are using these Force sabers, but since they are using these Force sabers, they have to use the dark side of the Force. So everyone is delving so far into the dark side that you can see it starting to taint them. When we saw Shae back in the first few comics, she was this kind of innocent, pure light side user, and now we see her as this vicious, murderous individual. They are able to take out the Force Hound, and we see Daegen over here running to Xesh, basically saying, we have these Rakatan annihilators, which are the ships, so I guess the ships are now attacking ships. And I thought this was interesting because it reminds me of, I believe they're called vulture droids in the Separatist army, how they have those big legs and they have the little head that shoots the lasers. I thought that was kind of interesting. They probably took the same idea from the vulture droids to make this in particular. Daegen is trying to escape. We see all of his men getting blown to shreds. Xesh is you have to call in an airstrike. We are going to die. And Daegen's if we call in an airstrike, we're all going to die from our own troops. And Xesh is hey, would you rather have a chance of survival with our own troops firing at us, or would you rather get eaten alive by the Rakatan? And Daegen's what? Did they do that? Apparently it's been confirmed, I think 2 or 3 times in this comic, that the Rakatan actually eat people. So the Jihadi agree to do this airstrike. Everyone's getting attacked. We have Trill and Seknos trying to escape the airstrike. Everyone is running for their lives. And we get a cut back to Rajavari, and we see the Twi'lek Baron, who is in charge of the Shikakwa crime syndicate. And we have Rajavari and the Baron talking back and forth. Rajavari's like, our seers, are doing a good job. Like, we weren't able to predict what they were going to do. We didn't know how strong of a force they were going to have, but it seems like we're going to win this fight. And the Baron's like, your seers were not able to stop the takeover of Gorra, which is where the Rakata now have their huge fleet. And the Baron just, confronts Rajavari. He's like, how am I supposed to know that you are going to win this war? This is not looking good for us. And Rajavari is like, if we unite together as force users and non-force users of the Typhan system, we are going to win. The Jedi begin to turn the tide even more, and they are pushing back all of the Infinite Empire's forces on Shikakwa, and we have the Sub-Predor Chelet, I believe is her name. This is the first actual female Rakata we see in this comic, so it's kind of interesting. Apparently the females have this hair. I'm not sure if it's their actual hair, or is it just like somebody else's hair? I don't know. But we see Chelet with Seknos over here on the monitor, and she's like, we were guaranteed absolute victory, we had outnumbered them like basically 1,000 to 1. How are they winning at all? And so the Rakatan are going to pull back to Gorra to basically regroup and begin their assault again. After the Rakatan Empire has fled, the Jedi all have this little meeting party thing, and Daegen like, yes, we won, we're victorious, we're gonna win this war. He's basically trying to boost the morale of everyone. And Seknos, on the other hand, is kind of angry. There's a lot of tension going on, and Shae confronts him, and she's like, is this not enough glory for you? Because Seknos was always this individual that wanted to seek glory in war, to kind of bring honor to his family, I guess. I'm not quite sure why. He just always wanted to have a conflict. And Seknos just tells her, this is no war that the Jihadi have ever fought. Like, this is new. Our ancestors have never seen a threat like this. We have to try and win. And he goes on to say that, using these force sabers is bringing imbalance to us, and I don't like the unbalance that's going on within me. And so this just reiterates what I was talking about earlier, where everyone is at each other's throats because they're using these force sabers and just delving into the dark side instead of being in balance, which they all studied for their entire lives. Trill then reassures Seknos like, oh, you're doing a good job, but I'm pretty sure this is all just an act. And Xesh is over here looking at Trill, and he's like, I feel like I've seen this woman somewhere. And Shae's like, you've never been in this system, so you could never have seen her or her kind at all. But Xesh is still stuck on Trill, and he's like, I've seen her before. I just don't know from where. And if you remember from the previous comics, Xesh had his memory wiped, and Trill was able to use some type of force trick so that Xesh could not actually recognize her at all when they first met, when she came to the Typhan system. So maybe it's starting to wear off a little bit. I'm not quite sure. Shae and Xesh have a talk, and Shae's like, thank you for helping the Jihadi. If it wasn't for your force sabers, we would have wiped out a long time ago. And Xesh just goes on and is like, you guys brought me to the light, you brought me to balance, it's the least I can do. And Shae goes on, and she does not want to celebrate, so she goes off into the woods to, I guess, meditate on herself. No one knows. We then go to Gorra, which is the headquarters for the Rakatan assault right now, and we have the female Rakatan, Shalat, or whatever her name is, talking to Seknos, and she is basically saying, we've been losing back to back to back. This is ridiculous. You're supposed to be in charge. What's going on? And then she calls Seknos a traitor, and Seknos is like, listen, I'm not a traitor. You're questioning my authority. And she goes on to ask him why they are actually in the Typhan system to begin with. Seknos then reveals to us the entire plan of the Infinite Empire, and the only reason why they're in Typhon is because he wants to be able to activate the Infinity Gate that the Qua people have built, which was on Typhon. Probably like 5 comics ago, we learned that the Qua people gave the Rakatan people their technology, all the abilities to fly and, basically advance their civilization. And they did this by using Infinity Gates, which kind of linked planets that were super, super far away in the galaxy together. So the Qua people would go through these Infinity Gates and they would come out on the other side of the galaxy. However, when the Rakatan showed their true colors of being this murderous, genocidal society, the Qua people decided to destroy all the Infinity Gates, and Seknos wants to actually try and get those Infinity Gates back online, and I'm guessing just so that they can conquer more planets. I'm not quite sure. He also tells us that the Rakatan are losing their force sensitivity, and we have seen these force sensitive Rakatan in a few scenes. Like we saw Seknos using force lightning, and I believe it was the first comic, and he is noticing that as time's progressing, the Rakatan are losing this force sensitivity, and he believes the Infinity Gate will somehow give back the Force energy to the Rakatan people in some regard. And then, and this is my favorite part in this whole comic, he tells Shalat that, you know, hey, I want to share this with you. I want you to be my queen of the Empire. We will rule the galaxy, like a Padme Anakin thing going on again. And then she's like, really? And then he just literally kills her, and he tells her, I wanted you to know what you would be missing out on. And so he kills Shalat, and they're going to continue the assault on Typhan to get control of this Infinity Gate. And that is it for this comic. So if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It really helps me a lot. I will be finishing this entire comic series, so if you want to see those videos, please subscribe and hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when I publish the next one. If you haven't already, you should go check out the other videos on my channel. I make content regarding legends and canon of all different timelines in the Star Wars universe, so if you like Star Wars, you might like some of my other content. But that's about it, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Stay frosty.